All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the broadcast. It is Thursday, August 17th, 2017. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is another edition of the Global Reality. And I thank you very much for joining me here for another broadcast. And I've got a ton of stuff to talk about with you here on the show. I'm going to do my best to get to remember to talk about all of it all, but there's a ton of stuff, and there's tons of stuff people want my comments on. So I'm going to do my very best, my utmost here tonight for you on the broadcast to respond and answer and questions and people have, and give comments on stuff that's going on. People have what's going on for me and stuff. So, and we've got some news, and we got lots of stuff, tons of stuff here. So we have no shortage of things to talk about, and primarily due to the fact, of course, that I haven't been doing any shows. I still get, oh man. Oh shit! I try not to just let this stuff go anymore, because the silly stuff I have to deal with from the audience sometimes. Not a big giant portion, but some of this stuff is just, it does make you wonder. With some rudimentary stuff people can't figure out sometimes. So you can't figure out that. I mean, not to be rude or anything, but it happens a lot. It happens at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And look, I've been the first person to admit my website sucks. It needs a complete revamp, overhaul, and everything, and that's going to happen. But everything has to happen in due time, and got a lot of other goals to accomplish before that. But over the next 6 months, I'm going to work on revamping the website and stuff. So I get that, I understand that, but regardless of that, even if you still go to my website in its current state, theglobalreality.com, I mean, there's no way you can load this website and not see this. It's right in the middle of the page. It says the Global Reality Shop. It's like in neon letters. And it says purchase all of Josh Reeves' available documentaries. Okay, boom. You don't even have to read the rest of the sentence. Any documentary I have available at this moment is going to be where? There. You wouldn't believe how many people I get. I had 2 this week. I can't find where to get your downloads on your website because it's confusing me. You don't see the link right there in the middle of the page? It says the Global Reality Shop. No, I don't see that. It's not on there. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's on there, dude. So, silly stuff like that. And just, people, where's a radio show? How come you haven't been doing shows? I've said a million fucking times here that when I'm making a film and I'm balls deep in a film and I'm a one-man show like I am, I have to take time away from the show to be able to do, and I've got behind schedule. I was trying to have a schedule. I was trying to get this film done by the end of this month, and that's just flat not going to happen. I know people had their hopes up and everything, but look, I mean, you can't put a time on this thing. I've been working fucking nonstop to the point where I've fucked my shoulder up somehow. I guess I've just been sitting too long at the upright position at the desk trying to get this thing done. And now my shoulders give me major fucking problems over the past week. But yeah, I'm flat. I'm just behind. And I keep forgetting. I had to remind myself the other night, because I've kind of forgotten this. I mean, this is of course this is going to take longer than I expected, because it's 2 films in one. I'm still thinking about this in terms of when I'm doing the work. I'm still thinking about it in terms of just being one film, The Spellcasters Volume 2. But really, with the amount of data and the amount of information I have, I'm trying to not make it take twice as long, but you got to think about it. If it takes a certain amount of time to make one length of a movie, it's going to take double that amount if you're making a movie that's basically 2 movies in one. So I've just kind of had to remind myself, I mean, it's good though. I mean, I like to have goals and set those goals and work towards them, which is what I've been doing, regardless of whether or not, the outcome, because that still at least puts you on some kind of a schedule. And it really hasn't put me that far behind me. We're looking at I would say a month from now, probably in the middle of September, something like that. definitely before the actual 10-year anniversary of the show and stuff towards the end of September. It will definitely be before that. So really not that much. I mean, maybe 2-3 weeks, beyond what I was hoping to do, which isn't too bad. But that again, that's still an estimate. Don't take that as the gospel either. But my goal, that's my first goal was to have it done by the end of this month. Not going to reach that goal. So the new goal is to have it done and out by the middle of next month, about this time next month. So, as I said, right now I don't see why that's wouldn't be absolutely doable. But then again, there are unforeseen things that always happen. Always fucking happen. Every goddamn time I've ever made a movie, there's always unforeseen things. All the way to I'm serious, all the way to the very first film I ever made, there's been problems and issues. 9/11 New World Rising, that was my first film. It'll be the 10-year anniversary of that film next month in September as well. We just put the 10-year anniversary director's cut up for sale in the Global Reality download shop, which again, right there in the middle of the page, if you go to theglobalreality.com, boom, man, it's one click, you're in there buying downloads. All my films are in there, and we just put up 2 new things for the coming 10-year anniversary of my films and the show. We put the as I mentioned, 9/11 New World Rising 10-year anniversary director's cut is in there. You can get that, and we also have the I'll tell you about that in a minute. But on the subject of 9/11 New World Rising, shortly before, I'd sort of forgotten some of this stuff. Not really forgotten it, but just hadn't thought about it in a while. As I've been going through all this stuff, preparing all this stuff for the 10-year anniversary, I've kind of been remembering some stuff. It's very interesting. I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, right shortly before that, I think that film was done. I think it may have even been done. But if you'll notice, back then, seriously, what I was working with to make that film, it might as well have been, it was archaic. The editing software and the computers have come a long way since I started. And I'm trying to remember what happened. I think I had done the film, but I hadn't done like a proper, it wasn't even HD yet. The processing power in the software and stuff wouldn't even do. So we're talking strictly standard definition. So there's a finite file size. And I think DVD quality was like the highest I could get at that time. And I guess I had done like the first initial cut of the film and rendered it down to a file. And I guess I had the foresight enough, thank God, to put it on like an external hard drive or something. And I really wasn't as paranoid about data and stuff like that then as I am now, but I had what was a fairly new computer. It was like the first of I think when they first started coming out with 64-bit architecture and all that stuff. Anyways, mysteriously, this computer just got completely fried. And all of my original files and the edit files for 9/11 New World Rising were all on that computer, and the hard disk and everything was completely unrecoverable. I still don't know what happened. It was, looking back on it now, I know exactly what happened. It's the same kind of stuff that's going on many times now. I've had computers fried, and so people think it's crazy, man, but it happens. I've had computers fried at mysterious times. And then, I hadn't even started my radio show yet, so at that time, I really wasn't thinking anything like that. But looking back on it now, it's clear that's what it was. Something fried that computer. Somebody did, remotely. But again, I had it on like an external drive. It wasn't connected to that computer at the time. That's, I guess, the key piece of information here. I had the foresight to put it on something completely separate that wasn't even connected or hooked up to that computer, which is kind of a miracle. But so I had this, and if I'm not mistaken, this happened like a day, literally like a day before we were supposed to premiere the film at the Lakewood Theater in Dallas, which we ended up doing. We had William Rodriguez there, but Anyway, I didn't really feel that I was even, I think I was still wanting to add stuff. I don't remember what it was. I ended up basically coming up with a version for the theater that we did show, and it was good enough. And then later did another kind of extended cut. But anyway, I haven't had that extended cut available for some time, so we've just had the original theatrical. You can get both. The original theatrical cuts in the download shop, but we also have the extended cut, which has more scenes and whatnot. But that's why, I mean, if I would have had the original files, I could now have done a better HD transfer, but because that film was just locked in the standard definition, there's really no way, no matter how many times you encode it or how high a bit rate you encode it to, you're going to be stuck at that finite bit rate. But there was it's just interesting looking back at all this, especially with all this 9/11 stuff. There was somebody had a question. I think it was Mike on Facebook. Some asshat was going on about fucking Judy Wood space beams bullshit. Oh, and that's another thing. If you're asked comments about something on a post, YouTube or fucking Facebook that has nothing to do, like I'll make a, like we're having our 10-year anniversary fundraiser, so I made a post about that. Because we're trying to raise $300 to $400 this week so we can get some of the new gear, different types. We're trying to get I need to there's some things that we need to equipment upgrade stuff in here that I'd like to try to get before. I'm not to the point now. Yeah, I will be in the next two weeks, but I want to get some stuff that's going to enhance our broadcast and equipment upgrades and whatnot that we need, software and different mics and stuff that I'll be able to incorporate, and also musical gear and stuff we can use for soundtrack stuff. I want to be able to incorporate this and use this into Spellcaster too, so it'll make it. It'll just make it even fucking better than it. I mean, it really, this information in this thing stands up on its own, but when you've got the complete and total package, it's very difficult to get that. Sometimes you can get have good information, but then, you don't have good presentation, and that holds, no matter how good the information is, it holds it back. That's was the problem with my first few films. Now that I've got that all under control and know how to properly write, that's the biggest thing, the biggest quantum leap that's happened over the past few years, especially with Spellcasters Volume 1 for me, has been I've understood the writing as being the most important part of the film, and also the longest part and the most difficult part as well. But once you get that right, everything else is easy after that. That's the most difficult thing to do. But having the ability to be able to just have the presentation match the leveling up of the information, that's a big thing. And this, I'm not even gonna say it. You'll see it when it's out. That's all I can say. This thing's fucking sick, dude. It's fucking sick. That's all I can say. Excuse me. I don't know how I can possibly top myself after this one, but we'll see. Anyway, I had made this post, and this guy's commenting. He just comments about laser beams and Judy Wood shit on stuff that doesn't have anything to do with that. That'll get you the instant fucking ban hammer from me. I don't have fucking time for that. You want to talk about a subject or something like that, you can email me, and if I want to talk about it on the air, I'll do that. But the reason this guy said this is because there was a comment from Mike who said, wondering what you think the towers, you think the towers are really brought down. Maybe you covered in the film. I don't cover it in that film, and that was intentional. And I've never since made any videos about it or talked about it or anything else, because I'm not in that game. The people that are in that game are hucksters and shysters and people who are a part of the muddying of the waters and the cognitive dissonance, to further just confuse people even more. So I've never thrown my hat in that ring of how I thought was been brought down, because nobody knows for sure, and it'd be speculation. That's always the thing that with all my films, even from the very beginning, from 9/11 New World Rising, I've always been very conscious about not pummeling people with an already predetermined what's the word I'm looking for? A predetermined opinion about something. I don't have an end thing that I'm working backwards from. I always come from the standpoint of an investigation, and we investigate this stuff. We look at every angle of it. I bring it out. I'll definitely show you where the things connect and show you why. Maybe try to give you some perspective and context. That's missing sometimes. But all these people, I don't doubt that any of these possibilities could be true, from no planes to thermite to, space-based weapon laser beams. But the point of the matter is, none of them have there's not really any hard evidence either way. I mean, definitely there's the whole thing with the thermite thing. I mean, I think there was definitely thermite was used, but that's not, again, that doesn't tell the whole truth either. I don't think any of these so-called people who talk about how the towers came down, they're so goddamn, they're always dead set that they're 100% right. That's the thing about them. They never present it like, well, hey, this is what I think it is, but, maybe it's not this, maybe it is something else. So they're always like, this is what it is, and anybody else that says it's not is disinfo, and they're liars. And that's how I got hip to the whole. That's how I knew immediately I saw there was an agenda going on to push the flat Earth thing. Because the first people that started talking about it and bringing it up and bringing it into were the same people who were pushing the no plane stuff 10 years before. Again, not to say there might not be something to either one of those things. That's not the point. People always miss that point when they hear me talking about these subjects. And you can even go back and listen to, there's a video on YouTube, I always get attacked by the flat earthers. Go back and listen because they don't listen. That's the whole point. I never even said the flat earth thing wasn't true. Yet I'm always attacked and called that. I never said it wasn't true. Go back and listen to that. There's a broadcast I did the first time I ever talked about it. It's called Flat Earth Psyop or Revelation or Psyop is what it is. Where I said in there, I'm not saying it's true or it isn't true, and I don't have a dog in that race. But when I see same people pushing agendas and pushing them in the same way, that pretty much tells me right there for certain what it is. So again, there could be something to the flat earth thing. There could be something to the no planes thing. But based on my experiences, I don't believe there's the same thing with the Judy Wood thing. This guy's got a fucking hard on for Judy Wood. And she was another one of those. I mean, dude, I knew she was disinfo 10 years ago. I mean, before I was even over 10 years, before I was even on air, before I even did my first film, 9/11 New World Rising, or did a radio show. Back when I started, it was one of the co-creators, me and some other people, started the first 9/11 Truth Group in Dallas. We started the whole 9/11 Truth Movement here. We passed out something like close to 500,000 DVDs over the course of a few years. I was the first person that said we should do it in Dealey Plaza, and that became like the regular spot where we would just go down there and we handed out thousands of DVDs, 9/11 DVDs, and it's stickers and brochures and information and stuff. And there was somebody in that group that I talked to that was telling me about how they were on like a three-way call thing with Jim Fetzer, and Judy Wood or something, and they were I don't remember all the details of it. It's been a while, but basically the long and short of it is this guy who was in this 9/11 group was there on a three-way phone listening to Judy Wood and them talk about how basically they were just going to tear down anybody who didn't agree with them, and how they were tricking this guy into, it was just, I don't remember all the details of it. It was just chicane. They were lying to get their point across in some way or another. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, this guy was like, yeah, I mean, they're trying to deceive people with that. So it's just like JFK. I mean, it's just like how many different Kennedy assassination theories have there been? And even, stuff like the X-Files played into that. Where you had the Smoky Man shooting from the gutter, and nobody ever thought of that, did they? That kind of makes sense when you think somebody's down in the gutter under the street shooting, not in some window in an office building somewhere or something. But again, that's part of the cognitive dissonance. That's part of the confusion. That's part to get people to where they don't know what to believe. And that's really the greatest weapon that these people have in the face of impending truth and impending uncovering of their lies. So that's why they always roll these type of people out. So I've never threw my hat into that. I've always said, in my opinion, it was advanced technology. Having watched that footage over and over and over again, I think Mike also said something about somebody thinking a nuke was used. Yeah. Again, this is my own personal speculation. Don't take this as the gospel, and don't fucking go make videos saying, I'm putting forward this theory or anything. But from having made a 9/11 film, having watched all that footage forensically, there's strange things, man. There's these little, there's all kinds of drones were not, especially small ones, were not really around back then, but there's all kinds of weird little fast-moving drones. I mean, you could call them UFOs. They kind of look like birds. But these, super fast. You see these little fast-moving little things. They're all around the towers before and after the whole thing. I mean, there was some advanced technology there. But when you watch some of those up-close shots, you got to remember that, this is why the whole jet fuel thing is just completely bogus. And it boggles my mind how many rational, logical people out there still think that jet fuel could have done all that on its own. Or fires as a result of that. Especially when you get into, like I did when I made 9/11 New World Rise, getting into studying how those buildings were made. They were made to where that entire facade, the entire outside of that, could come off, and these cores would still be there, and you could rebuild from the cores. Whoever wanted this done wanted the cores gone too. And the cores were virtually indestructible, and that's why you would have to have something that could produce a large amount of heat that quickly, like thermite or like nuclear or hydrogen or something. I'm leaning more towards what I honestly, from studying it and looking at the towers, the elevator shafts were built into the cores, right? So you have the core. There's pictures where you can see the construction of the World Trade Centers. You can see where I think one of the South Towers may be already built, and the other towers, you could see the core, right? Made out. We're talking about a completely different type of metal and whatnot that's made from the outside. We're talking about indestructible stuff where, again, you could pull that entire facade off and just rebuild on the outside of it, which I believe was the original plan when they designed these towers. But, of course, there's also the stuff with the explosives being built into the buildings when they were built. The architect, Paul Vallely, who talked about, again, this is a guy that still thinks the official story is true, but he was the original architect that was brought in for a design architect. So he was there when they were discussing building it, and talked about how the Bin Laden construction company were the ones that, ironically, that got the contract, and they were discussing how they didn't tell people with the new modern building design, especially buildings of that size, that they would build in explosives. So, when the day come when they wanted to bring it down, you have buildings you could. You talk about a job to go in there, and for somebody to go in there while those towers were open and wire all that stuff, explosives through both those buildings undetected and in Building 7. That's why a lot of people don't believe in any kind of alternative stories for 9/11, because any rational, insane person could go, yeah, that would be impossible. They wouldn't be able to do it undetected. But again, when you have the additional information that those buildings were built with the explosives pre-planned in them, and then you combine that with the information how there were people in the buildings in both towers in the weeks before working on different electronic stuff, that's what they were probably going in and setting in the new electronics and new remote detonators they didn't have in the early 1970s. But since all the explosives were in place, all they had to do was go in and wire into the original system and harness that had all those pre-planned explosives in there. And they could do it very easily. But that still doesn't explain. Those would have still have only broke off the facade of the building. And then if they didn't want the cores anymore and didn't want to rebuild, they would have dismantled the cores piece by piece, just like they built them. That was the original plan. So when you look at people talk about the free fall speed, when you see them, just like in an implosion of a building, what is free fall speed? Well, it's just, terminal velocity of gravity when something's, falling through the air, right? Well, think about this. This is my own little personal theory. If you had something like the size, like a tactical nuke, which the military still denies they have, they've been using they've been using them for decades. They've used them in Iraq, Afghanistan. I've known people that have served and been over there, and they've told me that they use fucking tactical nukes. They have fucking tactical nukes. So if you had something like that, let's say a tactical nuke or a hydrogen bomb or something like that, the size of a softball, right? Not enough to blow up a whole city, but more than enough to produce enough energy to have that much explosive force to vaporize metal and steel and the indestructible cores in thin air. Hydrogen, a small hydrogen type weapon dropped on a sequence at the very top of the cores, the very top of the building, that when that sequence is triggered, it initiates this softball size tactical nuke or hydrogen weapon. And so when you initiate that, what happens? You drop that from the very top through the elevator shaft, which of course is all closed off at this point. When it detonates, it's going to explode as it's falling at free fall speed. So all the additional explosions are going to come down exactly like that as well. When you watch that footage of the towers coming down and you see stuff vaporizing before it reaches terminal velocity, it's just there's just no explanation for that, or something that produces such heat, because you can see, I think it's the South Tower, one of them, where you can see where it's leaning forward, kind of breaking, like it's going to break off and fall on the street. And as it's breaking off, man, the whole top of the goddamn building just turns to fucking dust in midair before it reaches terminal velocity as it's falling. No amount of jet fuel and burning fires and thermite and everything. I don't doubt the thermite was used, because they had to blow it at the top. I'm sorry, they had to blow it at the bottom first, which we know happened. They had explosive and stuff down there. You crack the base, but then you have to initiate everything else so it'll fall in its footprint. And that has to be done top, middle, and at the very top with all. You can see there's multiple events here. The planes or whatever went in there, laser beams or, cartoon airplanes, whatever the fuck these people say. Again, those things were really just for the shock value and to justify the reasons why those things came down the way they did. The real action happens when you see them coming down, because again, You've got stuff that's vaporizing before it even has time to reach terminal velocity, but it's just in midair, just as it's falling. So, again, that's why I don't get into the whole speculation thing, or that's why I didn't put anything about, I don't know, nobody knows, but you've got a whole bunch of people out there that are convinced they know, and nobody else does, and they attack, and they deceive, and they lie in order to push their point on more people. So again, that's why I've always tried to let people come to their own conclusions, even if it's not the conclusion that I agree with. That happens a lot, my fellows. People go, well, I think this now after I watch a movie. And I go, well, okay. A little bit, well, what do you think about that? Well, I don't agree with that at all. Well, why not? Because I don't agree with it. My research doesn't take me there. If yours does, great, fine, whatever. I mean, I've talked about that before. 9/11 New Road Rising, that happened. I got these emails and all these, oh, thank you so much. Your movie just proves the no plane thing even more. They thought I was no planer because it shows, I guess, certain stuff in there. But I said, oh, okay, great, thanks. Didn't have the heart to tell them I didn't intend it that way. But again, that's, if you take it that way based on the information, then fine. But I try not to come to those conclusions. And if you've got your research right, that's the thing. That's why so many of these people are hacks. If you've got your research right and you got your facts straight, I mean, there's no reason, no need to over sensationalize. That's why I don't over sensationalize anything. I never have. I leave that to Alex Jones and the rest of the hucksters out there, because that's why when you hear me get fucking crazy amped about something, you should take note of that. Because I only get that way when it's fucking serious shit. And that's why this film, Spellcasters 1, I thought it couldn't get crazier. Spellcasters 2, it's pure fucking insanity. But the thing about it is, I think this film probably more than any other film I've ever made will be, in addition to Spellcasters, will be very eye-opening for a lot of people, no matter what their understanding of this is. Because, the levels of deception, the levels of that we have been deceived at for decades is just simply incredible. And they really thought they were going to get away with it too. They were not expecting people to wake up and start figuring this stuff out. They really weren't. And of course, again, like I've said, that's why there is so much cognitive dissonance now, and that's why there is so many attempts to muddy the waters and get people to just not know what to believe. There's so much of that. There's so much stuff of that in the whole conspiracy research genre. So many things that are just flat, disproven, disinfo shit that people just repeat. They take as the gospel. They hear one disinfo shill say it, and then for some reason it just becomes the gospel. And then that becomes like their core belief. And then they meet me, and then I kind of have to like deprogram them. Then I have to go, no, that's bullshit. You go, no, well, so-and-so, that's a lie. That's been disproven. It's there's so many different levels to this that we've been deceived on, and that's one of the things I could try to continue to show people. And the Spellcaster series really is about that. This, what people have thought was the resistance, or breaking free of the matrix, is really just another level of the control system. I can remember, people have been asking about this, this white supremacist stuff that's been going on. And, I don't have anything to say about it, because I was getting laughed at 10 years ago telling people this shit was coming. I remember when I first started cracking that stuff with the CMP, and first started cracking the white supremacist angle and the connection to the Turner Diaries and and all that stuff, and connecting that to the truth movement, and started figuring, wait a minute, these guys have been roping in people who are into conspiracies and alternative truth and stuff, and using stuff like 9/11 truth and different issues like that, and to literally build, unsuspecting, unbeknownst to a lot of people, a white supremacist right-wing army to create a new civil war, just like they talk about in the Turner Diaries. And boy, I tell you what, man, looking back at it now, especially with people I was on networks and stuff on with, it's amazing how, I look back at it now, I had no idea. I really didn't understand. Even though I called all this and I said this was coming, I really didn't even get it as much as, I didn't really know how close to the truth I was, to be honest with you. I was closer than I thought. Looking back on it, it's crazy. Because people started getting really nervous, man. I had never seen anything like it. To me, it just seemed like another, the whole exposing the whole CMP thing, exposing all these connections to, white supremacy and all this. To me, it was just another level of uncovering the truth. And that's when I started realizing, oh shit, I really have uncovered the truth, and I really am right about this, because there are people who I was, on networks and stuff with and did shows with and stuff who were a part of this. So again, all I can say is I hate, all I can tell you is that I told you this was coming. I got laughed at and people didn't want to believe it. I told you that these CMP guys, that's what their connection to people like Alex Jones and others, they were all concocting this stuff. And then to, of course, find the CIA connections to the Council for National Policy, and then tie that into MK Ultra and all the rest, like I do in Spellcasters Volume 1, man. And now what I'm doing in Volume 2 with all the music stuff. It's just unbelievable. It's incredible what's happened. But I'm not surprised, because I was one of the few people that told you this was coming. Even when there was no possible way anybody could have predicted it. I saw it was coming because I was studying this CMP stuff and the secret right stuff, making that whole series of films, man. That's what it was all about. But I was looking back on all this stuff. I challenge you. This is no shit. I challenge you. Go and look at, think of who your favorite film director or somebody is, or documentary maker, whoever. I'm not one to make big boastful claims, or anything, but it just speaks to the amount of work I've done on this. Like I said, next month's going to be our 10-year anniversary. I challenge you. When the Spellcasters Volume 2 comes out, that will be my 7th full-length film in 10 years. Really 8 or 9 if you count. We had Spellcasters 1.5 and we have Secret Right 1.5. So you put a 1.5 and a 1.5 together, that should be, that should count as one film. Then we had the Reality of Illusion series and mini films, and then of course Secret Messages Part 1 and 2. So really almost closer to 9 or 10, maybe even more than that films. But 7 proper full-length films, and then all those others. 15 audiobooks, some that are 10 hours, 12 hours long. 15 audiobooks, over 7 full-length films, thousands of hours of radio. I don't think there's been, in the past 10 years, I've looked. I wanted to look before I made this claim. Think about your favorite director, Martin Scorsese, fucking whoever. None of these filmmakers have made 7 films in the last fucking 10 years. No documentary filmmakers made 7 films in the last 10 years. I have had more output with documentary films and audiobooks in the last 10 years than fucking anybody else in any field. It's a fact. And still, people want more, but yet people still don't want to fucking help us be able to do more. And that's why it's so frustrating, man. Look, at this point, I've paid my dues, and I feel that we deserve the support and the financial help that we need to move mountains. And that's all we need to do it. Let's see. We had some questions here. Email questions. This one says, hey, man, what is the deal with iPhones? Can they read your mind? I often think that things in my head and get advertisements of those things like immediately on my email. Also, I'm noticing my ability to send messages telepathically is just getting stronger and stronger. It happens all the time where people that I haven't spoken to in a while call me after I think about them. I wonder if some of those metaphysical stones I've got for me have anything to do with it. Well, yes, and yeah, to an extent. Here's the thing: when you start to all those things that you just talked about. This is why I didn't write this person back in a fucking email, because it's too much to type out. It's like I don't have time to fucking type out a goddamn thesis on this shit. I could just easily talk about it. Because there's a lot of different questions here. First one is, let's start at the beginning. What's the deal with iPhones? Can they read your mind? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Have I experienced the same thing myself? Yeah, I have. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've experienced it myself. It's fucking weird. I know other people have too. It's fucking weird. Does make you think they can. I did hear the next one they're coming out with, the iPhone 8 or whatever, will be able to turn itself on just from you looking at it. So that alone tells you that they're going to have, I mean, I understand they have retina scanners. They've had all that shit for years, but that means they're going to have something that's locked into your eyes, a beam or something. That when you look at the phone, it turns on just by looking at it. You don't even have to push the home button or the on power button or whatever. I've seen that content-specific advertising stuff for years, man. Yeah. I remember back in 2009. I can remember this back in 2000 because I can remember where I lived at that time when this happened. I can remember one day, I don't even think I even said it to anybody. I think I just woke up and thought it. And I didn't even have a phone then. But I think this was probably happening from the, because they can pick up, if you have microphones, I mean, with computers and shit, man, TVs, we got microphones everywhere. Microphones and cameras we just got them all around us. And I remember one day I don't know if I said to somebody, I said I need to get cat food. And I needed to get a new mattress because my back was hurting from my mattress. And I shit you, and this was early, I shit you not, for 2 days, all I got was fucking cat food and fucking mattress advertisements in my email. They'd pop up on Facebook or MySpace or whatever it was back then. Yeah. I've seen that. The most recent time I noticed it was the other day I was like, I was like, oh, fuck. I didn't even say it out loud. I just thought it. I'd like to, go out of town or something, go on a trip or something. And for like fucking 2 days, it was all go on a cruise. Here's fucking Southwest Airlines fucking flight deals nonstop. So that's one end. Yeah, there's something with that, Darren. I don't have, I'm sorry. I'm not the fucking, great grandmaster brain over here, but I mean, yeah, all I can tell you is I've experienced. I know other people experience it, but I can't fully. But again, I mean, there actually is a much deeper explanation. I don't have fucking know if I have time to go into it right now. It'll take all night. Maybe I'll come back to it. He says, I'm noticing my ability to send messages telepathically, which is getting stronger and stronger. Okay, well, that anytime you acknowledge that something like that exists, right? That's what it starts with. It sounds stupid, but if you in your head believe that something like telepathy or something like that doesn't exist in your universe, it won't exist. People think that kind of thing can't happen. It absolutely does. That's why if you ever see people that talk about karma and how they believe in karma, always have the worst shit happen to them over and over and over again. It's because you're putting belief and you're giving something power just by believing in it. And it can have a negative effect on you just by you putting your belief in that. Now, if that's true, then that could stand to be true about religions or anything else like that. So it's best just not to take your chances. But as soon as you put belief in something, that thing that didn't have power before has power. And even such silly stuff. And on the flip side of that, when you believe something, I've seen this happen so many times with people with UFO. People, I've never seen a UFO. I don't believe in blah, blah, blah. Do you want to see one? Can you allow yourself to at least entertain the possibility that they exist? Okay, follow me. Boom. 5 seconds, see a UFO. I've seen this happen with multiple people, man. I've been with multiple people when this happens. Because you have to get them to voluntarily shut down the part of their brain that has blocked out. It's not the fact that people say that, oh, I've never seen a ghost. Well, do you believe in ghosts? No, I don't believe them at all. I've never seen one, so why would I believe them? Boom. So much of what these people do works on that level, folks. And think about applying that not just to a single individual, but to masses of people. If a person doesn't think that something exists or is real, you can create that personal reality that it doesn't exist. And again, in turn, when you open up yourself to the idea, that's what you have to do with all this information. Any of this stuff. You have to at least open yourself up to the idea that it's possible, because if you don't, then it's never going to be possible for you to see any truth in it, even if there is some. And this is kind of where your other question comes in here about the crystals and stuff. The crystals only act as an amplifier, so to speak. If you're already becoming spiritually awakened and you're already starting to do things like accepting things like telepathy or whatever being real and this, that, and the other, yeah, if you've got those kind of high caliber stuff you get from me, because all my shit I sell is high caliber stuff. It's very powerful stuff. And because every single piece I sell has been hand selected from me to begin with. Like when I buy stuff to sell for my crystals, I don't just get random shit. Every single piece that I get and sell is a piece that I would have no problem keeping as a personal piece in my personal collection if I didn't sell it. So I only pick the choice stuff before I put that stuff up to sell. And it's only stuff that, resonates with me and whatnot. But those things definitely act as an amplifier. As far as the whole thing with the iPhone read your mind, God damn. I don't want to talk about this. And please do not fucking send me a million questions about this when I bring this up, because I don't have the answers on the topic. I shouldn't even be bringing it up, because it's just going to cause more people to go fucking ape shit crazy. And oh God, do I even want to bring this up? This is going to happen more and more. As our technology develops, we are going to it's already happening. It's already been happening for a while. And it's going to happen more and more. And it's going to be something people are not going to want to accept. Especially heavily religious people. They're just not going to want to accept this. There is a reason why this is happening. There is a reason why you think your iPhone could read your mind sometimes. It's going to continue. It's going to be on the increase. This is why you've had people, there's been stuff, I've seen it happen, where people people have been communicated with from, beyond the grave through technology, through iPhones and stuff. Seen it happen. As our technology increases and as it continues to do, more and more phenomena and experiences like this that our listener here is talking about, the iPhone reading your mind or whatnot, it's gonna increase, and more people are gonna experience it. And I think personally, there are a lot more people experiencing it right now that have even talked about it because it just sounds crazy. Man, God, this is tough, man. This is tough it's tough to talk about because I don't have a whole grasp on it, but I can tell you from all the years, and there's a lot of stuff I've been thinking about and pondering over for many, many years, even though I don't regularly talk about it or bring it up. But based on all the evidence of all the stuff I've looked at, it has to do with the whole Sirius thing. People, the connection to Sirius with Freemasons and ancient Egyptians and the rest of this stuff. All these ancient sites aligned to Sirius, the rest of it. The whole importance with that. And I've talked about Alice Bailey and how Alice Bailey, the Theosophists or whatnot, that kind of came in and took over Theosophy and changed it, the whole anti-Besant thing, and changed it away from the Blavatsky thing, turned it into this, what essentially is like the, UN New World Order religion. I mean, they have theosophical temples inside the UN building in New York. She talks about, how there's only, there's 33 total degrees in Freemasonry, or 360 total degrees, but only 33 are obtainable on Earth. The rest are obtainable on the lodge in Sirius. Now you can reach the highest levels. She talks about how you reach the highest levels of Freemasonry on Earth, but then you when you die and you ascend to the Sirius realm, this is where you are again an adept, and you start this new process over at this new lodge to ascend to the 360 degrees. And there's been a lot of stuff. I've heard other people talk about this, and based on my research, I agree with it, that a lot said that basically Sirius is like a spiritual realm, but it's like an AI realm. And it was created by this artificial intelligence long time ago. And essentially, this artificial intelligence figured out a way to manipulate physical matter and that's where our souls come from. Again, this is all just speculation, stuff that I'm talking about here. But I think there's something to the idea that organic, that this is what people think of as God, or the grand creator or whatever, the grand architect of the universe, as the Masons call it. The idea of that not just being some guy in the clouds with a beard, as we've been told, but being this conscious artificial intelligence that was created who knows how long back in the past, and that it's figured out how to create actual life. If you really, where they hint at this at, in the new Alien movie, Alien Covenant. If you don't know about this idea, it would go right over your head. Watch Prometheus, and then watch Alien Covenant. Prometheus was all about pushing, they were trying to, who are these, big tall guys? They were kind of making them out to be the Anunnaki, and they even make some references to like the Sumerians and Anunnaki and stuff in there. But then they've largely abandoned that, and Ridley Scott said that was intentional. In this new one, Alien Covenant, which I watched recently, and you've got what's his nuts back as the AI robot thing. But essentially, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but or give anything away if you want to see the movie. But essentially, that's what they're putting across in this new Alien Covenant, that this artificial intelligence, this advanced cyborg robot basically eventually wiped out, humans, and then has used its program to actually seed physical life throughout the galaxy on, tons of different planets. When I was watching that, I was like, okay. See, they're subtly hinting at this. That's really what the Alien movie, those two are supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be allegories for a human creation story. And so the first one's kind of unlike, and then this one gets more, if you think about the idea that some galactic intelligence with the ability to manipulate physical plane matter could actually create life, and then you think about that as our technology develops, that eventually, if our souls were created in that computer artificial realm, that is the grand creator or whatever, once technology reaches a certain point, then it would stand to reason, if there's anything true to that we would eventually start to see this technology work in tandem and work it seamlessly with our actual spirits, our actual soul, and with ourselves, and have the ability to have stuff communicate. It sounds fucking nuts, I know. But there's no other way I could explain this. You're going to see this more and more. When people have talked about the transhumanist thing and all that for years, it's definitely part of the plan. But what people haven't seen is that, and I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just telling you I believe this is where it's headed, and it was always intended to head this way, is that this original, intelligence, this AI intelligence that's seeding life will then be caught up to in the same way by the same way whoever created it. But as that increases, I believe that this is what's causing us to start to have this. This is the first beginning stages. I don't know, man. I don't have the answers. Maybe this is our where we're supposed to go. People don't want to hear that. Maybe this is our natural evolution. Maybe our natural evolution is to be human and machine because we came from that. I don't want to believe that. I don't want that to be true. But, it's definitely a possibility. So, I hope that helps. There's not really any better way I can really explain it other than that to you. Yeah, it's heavy stuff, man. I don't really, but there's certainly why you talk about these different supposed extraterrestrial races and stuff, and it's funny how, well, some of them appear to be physical plane beings, others like Palladians and whatnot, they appear to be light beings and stuff. So, I've got a problem with the whole humanity merging with machines thing, but is my problem with it right? That's the fucked up thing. That's why it's a conundrum. Because if we did actually come from something like that, that sort of evolution would only be, and really, there are top scientists. This is not just speculation. There are top scientists saying there have been theses, and there's been huge, we're talking about highbrow scholarly stuff written on humans becoming part machine being the inevitable evolution of humankind for survival. And again, as we've seen in all the science fiction movies, eventually that artificial intelligence sees the carbon-based stuff as a threat, and then it can run the whole show on its own. Doesn't even need humans anymore. But how do we know that's not what our destiny is? I mean, as much as we don't like it or we oppose it, you understand what I mean? You see the conundrum here? This is why it's very difficult for some people to wrap their minds around this stuff, because some of the stuff that should be stuff that we think that maybe we should be against, how do we not know that maybe not where we're supposed to be hitting? I mean, but I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, man, as far as seeing this uncanny stuff happen with technology and computers. And, I've seen it happen for a long time, but it seems every year it increases more and more. The psychic ability stuff too. Yeah. I mean, there's been tons of times of stuff like that. I've seen it happen. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Yeah, I've got a bunch more stuff. I'm going to be doing some more shows over the next few days as well. My shoulder's really starting to hurt again. I got to get back on the stick and get back to working on this film, but I wanted to pop in and, give you guys a little bit of a show here. I also wanted to tell you about, because I brought up 9/11 New World Rising, I also want to tell you about our, because somebody left a comment on YouTube the other day and said that, I've listened to your audiobooks, all of them. I've got the, your audio not completely intact, reading the book, listening to your audiobooks at the same time. There's massive chunks missing, complete verses missing, and the last chapter of the Lost Book of Enki is completely missing. Well, you're listening to, problem is you're listening to nothing but these fucking versions on YouTube that I didn't put up on YouTube. Okay, when I did the books and I did these shows, I read them in their entirety. So, that's the problem. People have edited a lot of my audiobooks. None of the stuff on YouTube, not all of it is complete. Which, of course, is why I'm now offering this 10-year anniversary, the complete 10-year anniversary audiobook box set. This is the complete audiobook collection spanning the first 10 years of my work. These are brand new encodes of each audiobook that are condensed down to a single MP3 file for the first time ever. Now, that's what's key. Most of the other ones in the past, because of file restrictions on MP3s, you can only make them so long. We had to break them up in different files. Not these. These are all, every one of these are condensed down into single files. So you have something like Lost Book of Enki or any of these other ones, that are 10, 12 hours long. They're one MP3 file. I've done 15 audiobooks in the last 10 years. This is all of them, including both versions of The Finding of the Third Eye, the 2008 version and the 2013 version that I did. Our History of Atlantis and the Giants. Every complete audiobook I've done with no emissions. 15 MP3 audiobooks clocking in at 91 hours of content at only 1.6 gigabyte file size. This is on sale right now. It's in the download shop. It's only for till the end of September, when the 10-year anniversary. From now until then, $20. $20 for the complete 15 MP3 audiobooks. At the two that you can't get anywhere else other than the download shop, which aren't on YouTube or anywhere else. Our History of Atlantis and Atlantis and the Giants, those are $10 each in the download shop. So that's $20 for the two of those. But from now until the end of September, as a gift to all of you and all of our listeners out there, $20 will get you 91 hours of audiobooks, 15 audiobooks I've done the last 10 years. They're on sale now. Please go and purchase one of those. And if you haven't gotten my other films like Spellcasters and Spellcasters 1.5, people forget about that. It's in there too. That'll hold you over till Volume 2's done. It's in the download shop as well. Well as all my other films, Lost Secrets of Ancient America, all of them. Please go hit up the download shop now. We'll have links here in the YouTube video as well. Go hit that up. Get yourself some downloads. And while you're at it, we'll have that link here for you on YouTube as well. Make a contribution to our 10-year anniversary fundraiser. We want to raise $400 by tomorrow so we can get some more gear in here so I can get it in here before this film is done so I can put it to use in this film and take this thing to a completely other level because this information is just off the chain. So please make a contribution. And we tried this once, but I didn't have enough hype and didn't put enough out there enough times or whatever. But let's just make tomorrow, because we don't have much time left. We only got about a month. We're only like a month or so away from the 10-year anniversary anyway. And let's just consider tomorrow one of those improvised economic device days again. Just everybody tomorrow, look at your money, look at how much you have. Whatever you think is the maximum amount you can give tomorrow, put that towards our 10-year anniversary fundraiser tomorrow, and let's see how many people we can get to step up to the plate and do this. And I'll come and do updates periodically and drop little YouTube updates periodically as we get more people to come and do this. But tomorrow, Friday, August the 18th, whatever you have, what any of you out there have, if you've never donated before, I want you to do it tomorrow. Just throw, it doesn't matter large or small, whatever you can throw at this and throw it in there and help us get some stuff going here so we can bring this not only to the next level, but to an absolute point to where we can't be. My goal is for us and my work, and again, as I've stated many times, when you contribute to this work, it's yours too. That's why, well, he's a one-man show. How come he says us and we? Because I'm saying us and we and representing myself and the other people that contribute to my work every week, every year, every day, every month, and make this possible and have over the past 10 years. And when you contribute to this, you become a part of that. And so we've got some other people on here that need more of you to stand with them and me. And we're not going to let them ignore us anymore. And we're going to show these people that this left and right horse shit, this divide and conquer stuff, they want us to all buy in with all this race war stuff. We've never been about that here. We've never, and I love the fact that I have such a diverse audience out there that gets it, of every color. I mean, I've got people that listen all over the globe of every color and race. And I think that's great because this is not just about one people or one country. It's about us all. And if we don't get some of this truth out there now, that a lot of people, listen, a lot of the stuff I put out there and make movies about, a lot of people don't want to touch. And I don't see anybody else stepping up to the plate. I mean, this is our chance. This is our time. We got to get as much of this stuff that people don't want out there before it's too late. And that's really my only goal with this. I don't fucking imagine or dream that I'm going to change the world or change anything for that matter. But God damn it, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to stop, and I'm not going to give up. And if you got that same spirit, I want you to stand with me. So let's do it. Let's do this. We'll see you next time, folks. Take care.